All over sports media, you see channels like ESPN, NFL Network, and Fox Sports talking about how much a team has to spend on a player. Are they going to go over their salary cap? Is the salary cap going to be affected by hiring this player? Well, we're going to be talking about that, how it's calculated, how it works, and some myths that we're going to break. And we're also going to look at some of the NFL salary cap teams and how much they have to spend on the 2021 season. So make sure to give this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and let's get into it. The National Football League has really three segments when it comes to their football operations. It is coaches, player evals, and cap management. And under cap management is where they talk about the salary cap and how they're going to spend it in that particular seasons and seasons in the future. The NFL salary cap is a percentage of the league's revenue divided by the 32 teams where they split evenly. Now, how is this calculated exactly? So, in the collective bargaining agreement that the NFL has with its owners and its players, the owners get 53% of league revenue and players get 47% of league revenue. Now, this upcoming season, in the 2021 seasons, players will now be getting 48% as they'll be playing an additional game during the regular season. But players won't be making any more than 48% of the league revenue until the next decade. To determine what is the salary cap for the 2021 season, you would divide 48% of the league revenue by the 32 teams. The NFL is a private entity, which means they do not have to disclose how much revenue they make in a year, which is a little controversial, but that also means that you have to take what they say by word, which is how you get the $185 million in salary cap without knowing exactly how much the 48% is. You might look around sports media and see how people are talking about the shock that players and the owners are receiving because of how low the 2021 season salary cap is compared to the estimates they thought prior to the pandemic. But these players and owners met months before the 2020 season start and decided that they were going to have at least a $175 million salary cap for the 2021 season. So no one was shocked or really surprised by the fact that the salary cap was going down. Everyone doesn't necessarily have the same salary cap. Now, you might be a little confused because I just said it's divided evenly in the NFL. In the 2011 collective bargaining agreement, players and owners decided on using the unused cap in the next year or following years. And this has allowed players and teams to use their cap and save more cap space, which means that everyone doesn't necessarily have the same cap. But before this collective bargaining agreement, NFL teams were giving out crazy incentives, like giving backup quarterbacks the task of if you scored 8 touchdowns, you would get a $40 million extra bonus, which obviously it was not likely for them to get by their season, especially since they're a backup, and they would use that cap space to kind of finagle and help them out. But since they have the 2011 collective bargaining agreement, they don't need it anymore. And since everyone doesn't necessarily have the same salary cap, this gives teams advantages and disadvantages, especially when it comes to getting players during free agency. As the Jets, the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Jaguars have an extra $20 million coming to their salary cap in the 2021 season. A very common question when it comes to the NFL salary cap is, does it have a hard cap or does it have a soft cap? And the NFL has a soft cap, kinda, sorta. A hard cap means that that's the max amount of money they can spend and no one can go over it. And a soft cap means that they can kind of go over it, they can kind of not go over it. It really doesn't matter. It's just more of a suggestion than a rule. And the NFL kind of has an in-between because the NFL teams can't go over their salary cap and accounting money, but they can go over the salary cap in spending money. They can give out their money and spend it in different ways, spreading it amongst the players throughout their contracts, but they can't sign anyone to more than the salary cap that they have. If you would like to know more about this and how teams get around with it, go check out this video right here where I talked about voidable contracts and ways that teams get around their salary cap. And when teams do that, it is called proration, which means you split your money over time. And this is a good thing if they do this with players that are going to stick around for a very long time. Most of the time when people do this, they forget that players do reach free agency and they can trade them, or relationships don't work out, which is bad because they'll still have to pay that player even though they are no longer on their team, which is called dead money. And this can be seen for Jared Goff, who the Rams is paying him $22 million, and Carson Wentz, who is being paid $34 million from the Eagles, as neither one of them plays for those teams anymore. Now, since everyone's salary cap isn't the same, let's take a look and see how much people have in salary cap in the 2021 NFL season. I do want to say that this website is not directly affiliated with the NFL, so I would say take this information at about 65 to even smaller than that percentage, as we're just looking and seeing what is going on in the NFL. And when you open it up, it's listed right now in alphabetical order of the NFL teams this season, but we're going to start off at looking at their active money in their salary cap. So this means the money that they're paying to players actually on their team that's already spent. And so you have the Cleveland Browns, the Dallas Cowboys, the Bills, the Texans, and the Colts, who right now are working with a lot of money that they're already spending. So that money in their salary cap is already gone. It's paid out. They can't use it to anyone else because they already paid for it. And that's what I was saying about how every team doesn't necessarily have the same salary cap, because as you see, these are 5 different numbers that are relatively close to each other, but they're not the same number. And so the next thing we're going to look at is dead money, which is the money they're paying to players who aren't on their team. And the Detroit Lions are leading in that at $42 million, which is almost $43 million. And then you have the Eagles, who are next, the Panthers, the Rams, and the Saints. And this is a lot of money to be spending on people who aren't on your team. And that means that that's money you can't give to bring in free agents or to sign people who you want to be on your team for that season and probably seasons in the future to help out and make your team win the Super Bowl, because that is obviously the goal for every NFL team. Now we're going to look over to the cap space, which this is the money that they have to give to players that they want to sign or re-sign in the 2021 season. And right now, the Jacksonville Jaguars have the most space in their salary cap this season, which is at $38 million, a little closer to $39 million. Then you have the Broncos, the Jets, the Bengals, and the Browns, who are coming in the top 5 of people who have the most money to spend. And then in their total salary cap, which is allocated for, the active players, the dead cap players, the reserves, all that, you have the Texans, the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Browns, and the Bears, who are leading in the top 5. And this isn't necessarily a good thing, as we know that the Eagles are leading in dead money, as well as the Cowboys. They do have the most active money, so this number isn't really a good comparison to see necessarily how much money the team has, because a lot of these teams, if you look in the cap space overall, the team that has the most, that comes out the best, is the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Jets, the Bengals, and the Chargers, as they are the only 4 teams that are in the black, which is not good if you're running any business at all. As you can see, the next 5 through 32 teams are in negative numbers, which again shows that the NFL doesn't have a hard cap. It has more of a soft cap, because they can't go over accounting money, but as you obviously saw, they can go over spending money. Now that you know so much about the NFL salary cap in 2021, make sure to check out this video right here, where I talk about ways to get around the NFL salary cap while teams use voidable contracts, and this video right here, where I talk about NFL contracts and the ways they spend that money within their salary cap. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified every time I post a new video, which are on Mondays and Thursdays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And comment down below what was the biggest surprise that you got in this video that you didn't already know about the NFL salary cap. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down, because it's still your thumb. And always remember, don't be afraid to join the convo. How many times am I going to hit this? How many times? How many times?